What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Return of the Living Dead 3. So I've been searching for this movie for quite a long time. It's always been in the back of my mind, something that I've wanted to see, and I've been getting into watching all the Return of the Living Dead sequels recently, so I had to check this out. I just came across it on Freevee, which is a free streaming app from Amazon. I've actually never used the app before. Last night was my first time using it, and honestly, it's a pretty solid service. There aren't that many ads, and most of the ads are for shows that are on Freevee, and it'll have a little counter on it. Most of the ads are like 15 seconds or a minute, so I'm a big fan of all the free streaming services, and there's quite a few pretty darn good horror movies on there. They have a pretty darn good selection, so I'm excited to check out more movies on there. So yeah, like I said, I've known about this movie for a while. I've been interested in it. One of the reasons that I have been interested in it and wanted to see it, I've known about it for quite a few years, but I just haven't came across. I never found it on DVD, or I haven't seen it on streaming. But yeah, I was able to find it the other day. But one of the reasons that I really wanted to see this movie is because it's directed by Brian Yuzna. So Brian Yuzna has done a ton of movies, mainly a lot of horror stuff. He's done a lot of stuff outside of the horror genre as well. He's done some actually like pretty big scale movies, but I'm a really big fan of this movie that he did called Society. It's the effects are crazy. It's a super original concept. Society is really good. He has this movie called From Beyond, which is awesome. And then he worked on I think all of the Reanimator movies. I don't think he directed the first one. I believe he produced the first one, and I think he directed the second one, the Bride of Reanimator. I've only seen the first Reanimator, but all those movies that I discussed, I'm a fan of. He's done a bunch of other stuff that I want to check out. These couple movies, these horror movies, they're called The Dentist. I want to check those out. What else? He did Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, which I'm not a big fan of, but I mean he definitely went balls out with that. It's a different movie. But anyways, that was a big reason that I was interested in this. And another reason is just the cover. So the main character, Julie, her character design, I was always intrigued by. She kind of has like a goth look, and she has all kinds of piercings, but it's and like other body modifications, and it's like way crazier than anything someone would really have. It's like she'll have like shards of glass in her face, and every inch of her is pierced. She has this giant shard of glass sticking out from her hand, and I'm just a big fan of cool character designs like that. The makeup was so cool on her. So yeah, just the cover just always intrigued me. I was like, man, I gotta see this. That girl, man, she looks super cool. So yeah, I was super excited to see this. Honestly, it was just okay. I had, maybe my hopes were too high, and it's hard because it's so different than the other movies in the franchise. The first two are more straight up zombie movies, and then you have quite a bit of comedy. This one, there's virtually no comedy, and it's not really a traditional zombie movie. It's kind of like a Shakespearean Romeo and Juliet love story with a zombie element, which that concept, just the concept, is super original, but the execution was not the best in my opinion. I really liked the beginning of the movie, and the end, that you had, those were the most action packed sections. You had a ton of, you know, really good looking zombies. There's this one zombie in the begin. Oh yeah, there's this one zombie in the beginning, and he's a super skinny zombie. He's in a harness. They're testing him at this facility, and one of the doctors that's doing tests on him is actually the director Anthony Hickox, which if you all are fans of horror movies, you might be familiar with him. He did Waxwork 1 and 2, and he did Hellraiser 3. He did a bunch of stuff, but I was looking, I had to do a double take. I was like, is that Anthony Hickox? And then his name's Dr. Hickox. I'm like, oh shit, it is Anthony Hickox. So I'm a big fan of him. It was cool to see him, and the zombie in that sequence was actually just some homeless guy that Brian Usna found on the street. They just found this homeless guy, and they just thought he had the perfect look, so they casted him, and he's wearing this harness. He's pretty much naked, but he's just wearing this harness, and it's pretty much just covering his junk. And they were saying they had to do just take after take after take because his junk kept falling out of the harness. So I love hearing crazy behind the scenes stuff like that. I thought that was absolutely hilarious, and that's pretty darn nice that homeless man, he got a opportunity to make a little bit of money. You know, they have craft services. He got, you know, a nice warm plate of food. So I think that's cool that they gave, you know, a homeless dude an opportunity to like that. He really had the look. He was really like emaciated, really thin. He had like his ribs poking out. So he looked the part. He was very convincing. So yeah, like I said, this movie was just okay. I liked the beginning. That whole sequence with Anthony Hickox and the zombie who's played by the homeless guy, that was in the beginning. And the end, you had a lot of zombie stuff, but the middle kind of just dragged for me. And honestly, another thing that I didn't really like about this is, in my opinion, the couple did not really have that much chemistry. Like, we're introduced to them, and I don't know, I never really got a sense that they were like so in love. Like, they didn't build it up at all. It's just like, they're in love, this is a couple, they're in love, and throughout the movie, the way the characters act, they don't seem like they're so like madly in love, something like to the extent that it would be like fitting for like a Romeo and Juliet type story, because the guy, he knows about trioxin because his dad works at the zombie facility. So, you know, I'm just getting into the story here. So the main girl, Julie, she dies. They're in a motorcycle accident. So he knows about trioxin, and he brings her back to life. But then he's like tripping that she wants to like eat brains. Like, you knew trioxin would reanimate her and bring her back to life, but then you're like tripping about that she's eating brains. Like, you knew what you signed up for when you brought her back to life. Like, how did you definitely knew that she was going to start eating brains. And yeah, the whole movie, he's just like so like turned off by her trying to eat people and trying to kill people. Like I said, like I thought he would know what he's signing up for when he brought her back. And I think this is what I was thinking when I was watching it. I was thinking it would have been cool if they tweaked the story a little bit, and instead of him kind of being opposed to her killing, I think it would be cool if he brought her back and he was killing for her. Like, if he brought her back and he knew she needed brains, if he would like go out and murder people and, you know, take them back for her. Or I thought another interesting concept would be if he like got bit by her and they were both zombies in like a zombie relationship. I don't know. That could both of those ideas could sound silly or stupid. I just thought that'd be kind of interesting, because the whole time he's just like so turned off by her, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. I didn't buy the whole love story, and then even towards the end, they're trying to capture her, and he just like steps aside and lets her get captured. I mean, after that, he redeems himself because the ending is a traditional Romeo and Juliet, you know, ending where they both pretty much commit suicide because he gets bit, he's gonna turn into a zombie, and they burn each other. But before that, he just like put up no fight to save his girl. He's just like, yep, let me just step aside. You can capture her. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the whole point of this movie. It's supposed to be this zombie love story, and the love story element was just not very strong in my opinion. So I don't know. Like I said, I didn't dislike this movie though. I thought it was okay, but I definitely did like the first two quite a bit more. But I don't know. This was good, and like I said, the concept was super unique. I give it props. Like I said, the makeup on the main girl Julie looked great. All the zombies look great. You mainly just see a lot of zombies in the beginning and the end, but towards the end, all the zombie makeup is awesome. There's this one zombie in the beginning where like half of his face rips off, and it's like half of his face is a skull. That really looked good, and it kind of had like a lot of the stuff in the testing facility had like a real sci-fi vibe, so I liked that. So there was quite a few cool elements, but overall it was just whatever. I'm just I've been talking a lot. I've been going nonstop. I'm just gonna check my notes for a second to see if I missed anything. I think I pretty much talked about most of the stuff that was on my mind. Yeah, looks like I pretty much talked about everything. Yeah, this is I pretty much talked about everything, but this is one last thing that I was thinking because I don't know what the general consensus of this movie, like if people love it or hate it. I think it's kind of a divisive movie in the franchise. I think people like the first one is super well regarded, and that's pretty much a classic at this point. I think the second one is not liked, and I think this one is the same, pretty much the same deal as the second one, where it's people either love it or hate it. You know, it's very divisive. So I was thinking because it is a really original concept and it's so different than the first two, I was thinking, you know, would this movie be more well regarded, or would it have been more well received at the time if it wasn't a part of this franchise because it's totally different than the first two movies? I mean, I think it probably would be. I think it would, because you know people like went in there, they were thinking they were gonna get another Return of the Living Dead with a bunch of comedy, slapstick, all that stuff. So I think, you know, this was super unique, and it probably just was super divisive for people where they're just like they either absolutely loved it or they totally hated it. And which is what's weird that I'm saying that is I didn't love it or hate it. I thought it was just okay, but I'm glad that I saw it. I've been wanting to see this for a super long time. Like I just said, I pretty much hit all the points that I wanted to talk about. That was the last thing I wanted to say. But thank you all for watching. That's it for my video. Peace out.